Is the Bible truly reliable, or is inerrancy just a made-up doctrine that Christians like to cling to?
Welcome to the Core 4 podcast. I'm your host, Journey Sutton, and today I'm joined by our co-hosts Joshua Franco, Jared Latta, and Jonathan Gonzalez. And with that, let's just jump right in.
Okay, so last episode we promised y'all that we're going to look into the inerrancy of the Bible. So I went and looked on the Debate a Christian subreddit, and we found a post about how we cannot trust the Bible. We can trust that Christianity is broadly true, but the Bible cannot be inerrant. So for the sake of time, we're not going to go read the whole article, but if you want to go read it, it'll be down in the description. And let's start giving them the points that we found. And we are going to try and analyze this fairly. We're going to try and give them a fair side to the argument as well.
Yep. So the first objection that this guy makes is that if God wanted an error-free message, he would have protected the manuscripts. So word for word, what this guy said underneath this objection was that if God wanted his message to be free of error, we would expect all of the manuscripts to be free of error. But they aren't free of error. So God probably doesn't want to ensure his message is free of error. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
First of all, inerrancy, it has to apply to the original manuscripts, right? As not every copy is without error, but what is written and what is taught still stays the same, which it truly shows that God did ensure his message was without error originally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically what we're saying is that I see where he's trying to go, but it's not logically sound to say that because the copies of the original manuscripts are inaccurate, then the whole Bible is inaccurate. Because the inerrancy, what he's debating, only applies to the original manuscripts. And even then, over time, and the general ideas were kept. Over time, we were able to synthesize all the copies and figure out what those little errors were. So the inerrancy of the Bible isn't determined by the copies, only the originals.
Yeah, like Jared was just saying, really the biggest things that were wrong with it is that the spelling, and maybe the people who were copying the original manuscripts might have skipped a line or something. But according to Robert M. Price, who was a former Christian and a biblical scholar who is now actually turned atheist, the source, The Incredible Shrinking Son of Man, he quotes, "Even if there were major discrepancies in the manuscripts, the core beliefs of Christianity, such as the death and resurrection of Jesus, would not be threatened." You see, Price, though critically of Christianity, admits that despite some historical uncertainties and discrepancies, the core doctrines like the resurrection and Christ's divine nature remain well supported in the manuscripts.
Yeah, whether God intended for humans to engage in study, he wants us to study his scriptures. He gave them to us to study. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God." God's not just going to hand us a tablet exactly with word for word how we were supposed to live our lives. He gave us his Bible, and we're supposed to interpret it. We're supposed to live by it, and that's why he gave it to us.
Yeah, he didn't promise that his word was going to be easy. Study is not just go read my Bible, but he tells us to study it. And that requires deep thought and obviously requires him guiding you through it as well. So it's not just something you're going to go look at and it's just going to be an easy time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So our second thing that we found was that he argued that since God didn't tell the Native Americans for about 1,500 years about him, that he obviously doesn't care about inerrancy. Directly from his quote, he said, "If God was content to go so long without communicating even the broad truths of Christianity to them, then it seems reasonable that he might also be content with letting us have an imperfect Bible."
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a totally irrelevant point to try and make to disprove the inerrancy of the Bible. Because just because something takes a while to get somewhere, it doesn't make it any less true than it already was, Mm-hmm. It's just... There's many scriptures that actually state that, Acts 17:26-27, it says, "And hath made one blood of all nations of men for to dwell on the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and all the boundaries of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him, and find him, though he be not far from every one of us." You see, God determines the time, sets in exact places where people should be, and through those, he actually can make people try and follow him, and he gives us the opportunity to try and seek him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the truth of this is God works in his own way. He has done so through history, in times that have been recorded, but there's a lot of times where maybe we just don't understand why he would have waited, like why he would have waited 1,500 years to tell the Indians, but we believe God knew what he was doing, and that he had a plan. We could, honestly, I'll leave that there because we could probably take a whole episode to try and explain, or even attempt to explain if we even can, why God would do this. But the argument that the inerrancy of the Bible, that the Bible would be inaccurate because God didn't share with the Indians here, those are two completely separate arguments. It doesn't disprove the inerrancy of the Bible at all.
Yeah, kind of going off Journey's point a little bit. You know the Japanese who were fighting in World War II who were deployed to these tiny little islands, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get the word that the war was over until years and years later, and they were still on that island defending it. Just because they were on that island defending it doesn't mean that the war itself wasn't over. They just simply hadn't received the news yet. Saying that not hearing something for a long time means that the message is false is completely flawed logic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, truth is.
I love that point, man. Really, I just want to quote Acts 17:26-27. And hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us.
Yep. So yeah, like from that verse, like I was saying earlier with it, God determined the time set for them. It's a very important verse when we're talking about this topic because, God intentionally put those people in a range of those nations at those exact times for his plan. So it's ultimately his plan to have us there.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay, that brings us to our third objection, which is the Bible claiming inspiration doesn't count. Those verses could be wrong anyway. And directly from the OP, he says, a second argument for biblical inerrancy is that the Bible claims to be inerrant. However, such claims shouldn't hold much weight since they could simply be inerrant themselves. So what do you guys personally think about this?
Yeah, I think that this objection really just misunderstands the nature of biblical inspiration. You see, the Bible, in claiming its inspiration, isn't a standalone proof, but it's also not meant to be a proof in the first place. In my opinion, I don't really think you can prove anything. We think we're sitting here talking, but you can't really prove it. From the evidence that we've gathered with us right now is that we are sitting here having a theological debate about the inerrancy of the Bible, but you can't really prove anything. Everything in your life is going to have a certain aspect of faith to it. So
I mean, yeah, this could be AI right now, and you wouldn't know that in today's modern world. So even right now, you likely have a faith that we are actually real people that are actually debating this and talking this over. So there is a measure to faith to everything.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can't really dismiss the passage too because that's circular reasoning, and you think that using the Bible to prove the Bible is circular reasoning, but that's where we base our whole faith on is the Bible. And there's many other historical books that actually prove the Bible and prove Jesus' birth and resurrection.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the end, the Bible is true. And what the OP is trying to say is because we prove the Bible with the Bible, we can't trust it. But the problem is the way that he tries to disprove the Bible is with the Bible. So both of them are circular reasoning.
Yeah.
So he's trying to disprove our circular reasoning with his own circular reasoning. Because we're saying because the verse says the Bible is true, the Bible is true. He's saying because the verse could be wrong, the Bible could be wrong. They're both circular reasoning. Neither one. He can't really disprove us with the same thing. And I don't mean to be mean, but it's really hypocritical to try and do it that way.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so that'll bring us to our first ad break of the video. And today's first ad break is actually kind of special to me because it's from my home church, and it's gonna be next week. We're having our annual Nativity scene at 212 Sago Avenue, Jacksonville, Florida. This event brings Christmas story to life in a beautiful, meaningful way, and it's all done by the youth group. From the creative set design to the heartfelt performances, this is more than just a nativity. It's a chance to experience the true spirit of the season through the eyes of the young people who've worked hard to make this event special. Whether you've been coming to church for years or this is your first time, this is the perfect way to kick off the Christmas season with friends and family. It's a great opportunity to gather together, reflect on meaning of Christmas, and show support for the incredible work the youth group is doing. We're super excited to sponsor this event on our podcast and to support these amazing students who've poured their hearts into making this event something truly special. Mark your calendars and bring your loved ones and come enjoy an evening of holiday cheer and reflection on what the true meaning of Christmas really is. That'll be from 6 to 7 on Friday and Saturday next week. So that'll bring us to our fourth objection of the video. And the OP actually states, biblical authors give their opinions so the Bible can't be inerrant. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, I think I'll make sure that we quote the OP real quick. This is one of the last ones that he has a really simple quote that we can take from him to explain his point. But he said that the verse doesn't claim that the author, who, in parentheses, who claims to be Paul but probably isn't, end parentheses, arrived at this conclusion through divine revelation. It may simply be their opinion.
Yeah, and really, I don't really get that point at all, man. But as inerrancy allows for authors to express personal judgments because the recording is inspired. I mean, you have 2 Timothy 3:16, which says God's word is inspired. So because it's inspired, God it shows divine authority, right? And it shows that God is inspiring them and is giving them what to write, but it still allows them to write within their own context and I guess their own, through their own eyes.
Yeah, and what we really see from here is that opinion doesn't equal error. From Luke 1:1-4, for as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they were delivered unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order most excellent Theophilus, that thou mightest know the certainties of those things wherein thou hast been instructed. You see, John Romata's the letters are personal and pastoral in these biblical scriptures.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll give this over to Jonathan real quick, because I think we were talking about something called mechanical dictation. I think he understands it better than me, but I'll just add on real quick. Again, God, I guess I'll emphasize the fact that God spoke through them, but he didn't I'll let Jonathan, actually, I don't want to steal his thunder.
So I think what this OP is trying to get at is that God, I guess, directly told the writers what to write, word for word, letter for letter. That's not the case. God simply inspired what the writer was writing. He breathed through it. The idea that God, I guess, mechanically dictated exactly what the author was to write is not true. You can see, different books have their own different writing styles. The book of Luke and the book of Acts, both written by Luke, are very descriptive. They have lots of different sources, but Paul's letters are personal, they're pastoral. It gives the idea of a shepherd looking over his flock. All the different books have their own writing styles, and that's honestly what makes it beautiful. The fact that it's not mechanically dictated. It's the author's own opinions forming together to convey the will of God.
Mm-hmm.
And it really adds a sense of realism. You see, the songs of David, obviously, as far as I know, we don't have the lyrics to those anymore. But you see, there's stuff like that perhaps God would have given him his own stuff that he could have written not the lyrics to the music to it, or when people quoted miracles, they gave their own personal take on it, what was amazing to them, and God obviously would guide them in what to write in the Bible, but they got to, it makes it more real when you hear a real person explain what they saw.
For sure.
Adds to the beauty of the Bible.
All right. So objection number 5 says that ancient writers didn't aim for precision, so quotations may have been invented. So, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
One thing so around this time, the time of the Bible, it was very common for paraphrasing to be a legitimate method. They didn't often, some people probably did, but it was very common for people to not take word for word quotes. Some people, though, try to make it really, really fancy, and they'd make it more poetic and to sell their history better. And some people, though, just paraphrase it to get the actual meaning. But paraphrasing doesn't actually mean that they made up. They just tried to get what the people said without going word for word, but they still accurately recorded the meaning. Especially if God is inspiring it, it would be all the more accurate paraphrasing.
Yeah. So going off Jared, yeah, paraphrases this doesn't mean something's made up. Like you have 2 Peter 1:16, for we have not followed cunningly devised fables, when we made known unto you the power and coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, but were eyewitnesses of His majesty. And basically, like this, I guess, sum up that verse and like explain it. Obviously they don't follow false fables, but it's eyewitnesses, right? And they paraphrase the eyewitnesses of Jesus Christ, their own. Like you have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all testify of Jesus Christ, and they're all eyewitness versions of what Jesus Christ did. And they're all different in their own way because they all paraphrase it in their own context and in their own eyes. But that doesn't mean it's made up.
Yep. So I'm gonna go off of that and just bring it to our objection number 6 of this, and it's the Bible contains contradictions that proves errancy.
Sorry, I do want to clarify. The objections that we are reading off are his objections, and then we are. That's what we're doing. So in case you've been confused at home, we're reading off his and then evaluating them.
Yep. So I want to know if y'all have any thoughts on objection number 6.
So we first of all, in order to understand like whether or not a contradiction is in the Bible, we must understand what a contradiction is in the first place. So a real contradiction, the definition is, real contradiction means the same event in the same time, in the same sense, being stated in mutually exclusive ways. Most claims thrown around online don't even meet this definition. Like a simple context read will tear the contradiction apart. Judas's death, Ahaziah's age, Darius the Mede, and the Quirinius census, all heavily discussed with reasonable explanations. These are certainly debated among scholars, but that doesn't prove them as errors. Reasonable explanations have been discussed.
Yeah, basically though, the whole idea is that we're trying to establish is that, like, let's say I'm sitting here recording a podcast, and I said I'm taking a test. Well, let's say Jared is sitting here recording the podcast. Jared is sitting down taking a test. That would seem like a contradiction at first glance, right? Because it says I'm doing two different things, but you have to have all three. It has to be the same event, same time, and the same sense. So we have the same. We have two different events, but the biggest part that this falls apart at is we had two different times. I would have taken a test at a different time, but I'm recording this podcast right now. So you have to miss all three of those in order for it to be a contradiction, and it has to be exclusive. It can't be like any way that you could there can't be any way to make it make sense. It has to be completely wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a great point actually, because they didn't have like specific timelines that, like, they didn't state in the Bible, this is what happened at this exact time, this place, this thing. But like they do make it enough to where you know what's going on, but it's a little hard to, figure out exactly what's going on all the time.
And that's what we were trying to reference with the OP had mentioned, like we said, Judas's death, Ahaziah's death, Darius the Mede, and one or two more. But the whole idea is he pointed those off, and he didn't really give any reasoning for those. So he didn't really give us much to go off of. And we don't want to go too deep into it right now for sake of time. But the problem is that, the issue is that those are debated among scholars. He was correct in saying that. But in being debated, there have been reasonable explanations given for them. So those are not, he listed off things that are argued, but they are not contradictions in the fact that they are absolutely wrong and there's no way to explain them.
Yeah, another thing that OP did, I'll make sure I quote it word for word from. He said, if one starts with the assumption that the text must be inerrant, of course any and otherwise improbable solution could be invented to resolve the apparent errors. But my point is that this assumption isn't justified to begin with. So errancy is, in fact, the most probable explanation for these discrepancies. And when he says the words most probable explanation, it shows that he has a clear bias to his point of view or what he wants. So most probable explanation towards errancy. And it shows that he's contradicting himself in what he says, and he's showing obviously a clear bias to what he wants, I guess, you to believe or what he believes himself. And it just shows that he is just dishonest, intellectually dishonest, at least a little bit, and shows that he obviously has a clear bias.
Yeah, like, obviously he contradicts himself because he's saying if we start off saying it's inerrant, then that's not right. But, like, he starts off saying that it is errant, like there's errors within the Bible, so he's technically just taking the exact same thing he's saying.
Just
that
the
we're
other
saying,
approach.
But he's just switching it up, saying it from his side of view. So
Yeah, and I think that basically sums up most of his article. You'll have to forgive us. We are still learning this podcast thing. Hopefully, over time, we'll get better at these, and hopefully, this has still been a help for you. So,
Yep,
That being
we've been
said-
kind of rushing our information, trying to get our research done. Like I spent, I don't know, a couple hours yesterday staying up till like 12 o'clock researching all of this. So
this is really fun. I'm gonna be honest. We really want to encourage you to go try and do this yourself sometime. It's really cool to be able to dig into it. It's really hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is really rewarding and fun. Even if we're struggling like we are, it still feels rewarding to have an answer, even if it's hard to explain it.
Yeah.
yep, and we really appreciate y'all viewing because it makes us, happy to make it every time. We're gonna try and keep making videos and stuff. So
Absolutely. We
course.
will have an issue. We'll explain this a little bit more. I think we have some time left. This man over here, Joshua Franco, is leaving to go to California. Is moving away
LA, baby.
literally today. So
We had to rush this in to get him.
So we had to rush this in to try and make sure we get it before he leaves. And we'll be trying to figure out how we're going to record after this, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But just a minute before the next slide, so we've seen the post arguments from the manuscripts, the opinions, the ancient writing style, and obviously the alleged contradictions. But each point falls apart because they're clearly misunderstood, misunderstands what inerrancy is, or it assumes conclusions about inerrancy.
before we continue on this video, I want to shout out our second sponsor of the video, Beloved Cheesecakes. We actually reached out to the owner, Mrs. Jen, and she actually was really, really kind, and she quickly shipped us out a cheesecake to try out with 4 different flavors. So without further ado, let's try it out.
That's the raspberry, by the way.
white chocolate raspberry.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually really, really good. Mm-hmm. It's like super, super rich. I'm not the greatest review guy, but that is good.
Oh yeah. All right. So I got the key lime. I'm excited about this one. I've always loved key lime. I went to Key West one time. The key lime one there was great. Hopefully this compares. Oh yeah, that's perfect, man. That tastes like key lime if it was a cheesecake, which is what it is. It's really good though. It's really good. It's really good.
All right, well, I got the salted caramel cheesecake, and I'm actually very excited because this looks amazing. That's the best cheesecake I've ever had. I don't often eat cheesecakes, but that is honestly, without a doubt, the best one I've ever had.
They're just really well made.
It's crazy.
For me, I got the classic New York. I mean, you could never go wrong with New York, right? So we go see how this tastes. Okay, first of all, just wow. I mean, I've had cheesecake, New York cheesecake from Publix, from Walmart, and you can tell that those are very cheaply made. But this one's different. You can tell the texture.
Yeah, it really
the
is.
texture is like magnificent.
Yeah.
The flavor is truly rich. Like you could tell this is really
I mean,
that
it's
well
definitely,
made.
This is
it's real
definitely that
flavor.
real cheesecake right
It's
here.
Not, it's not
Yeah.
that fake stuff you get at Walmart.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I've ever had, to be honest.
If you're ever having like a party or a formal event, these cheesecakes would be absolutely amazing. It'll steal the show every time. I
It
guarantee.
really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
incredible.
So we'll link them down in the description, and just shout out Mrs. Jen again if you're watching the video. And we really, really appreciated your support, and we hope you gain something from this as well.
Thank you. And I think that pretty much just sums up our video. Thanks so much for joining us today for today's episode of the Core 4 podcast. We hope this conversation gave you a new way to think about your faith, scripture, and the role of inerrancy in the Bible. Remember, questioning and exploring doesn't weaken your faith; it actually strengthens it. As long as you get somebody to talk with you about it. And before we go, obviously, we wanted to tell y'all about how Josh was leaving. Sadly, we're still working on a solution to get him virtually on the podcast, and maybe in the future when he comes visits, he'll be on a couple of our episodes. But
Hopefully.
yeah.
But real quick, guys, obviously whoever's watching, I don't know who's watching this, but if you guys could please just play for my family, because we're gonna do it. It's a 2-week trip. We're gonna do a lot of stops. We're gonna visit a lot of places. But I just pray. If you guys just please pray for us. Pray, because obviously we're going to a new school, going to public school. I haven't gone to public school in like 10 years. Bashy's never been to public school. He's my little brother. So I hope you guys just pray for us that the trip may be smooth, and that the transition may also be smooth, and that we don't face any major hiccups, Lord, and that the Lord continue to provide for us, and just keep us safe.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, we love to also hear from you, and we wonder what y'all would want us to talk about. What topics or debates would you like us to tackle in the future episodes?
Mm-hmm.
And send us some of your ideas, and maybe we'll hear your question on one of our future podcast episodes. With that, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and we'll see you in the next episode.